Let's get more on the investigation with criminal defense attorney Bob Bianchi. Bob, you listen to what Laura's saying there. You got 4 people. You've got one suspect who apparently went in with a knife and killed all 4. And I was going to ask you, how in the world does one people kill 4 without this fight going on? Well, now we've heard just moments ago, the father of one of the victims says that his daughter had bruises on her, indicating that she was trying to fight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Trace, as a homicide prosecutor, the first thing that you've got to do is you got to keep a very open mind, not get siloed into any piece of evidence, have all, avenues of investigation that are going to be looked into. So that was the first thought that came to me. This is a very dynamic scene, obviously. How does one person overpower 4? With a gun, you can understand it. With a knife, it's up close and personal. It's very bloody. It's very slippery. A lot of times people that are doing this that are actually the perpetrators wind up getting wounded themselves. And you just have one person, you have 4 people, and as you just indicated, that's a very significant piece of evidence that there were bruising, because as you would suspect, these people are going to be fighting back. They're going to be screaming. There's going to be a lot of what we call transfer of trace evidence, whether that be hair or fibers, clawing under the fingernails. So it would seem to me that there's going to be a lot of DNA that's going to be looked into in this case. And of course, the investigator said, last point, Trace, is that they're not focusing on the roommates who they say are cooperating, but anyone who may be coming in or out of that house. Right. But they didn't say they ruled them out yet.
And you back up again. There were 2 roommates who were inside the house who apparently were sleeping because they knew nothing about this. We don't even know if they made the 911 call in the early morning hours. But you think 2 roommates, was it maybe they're looking at they were inebriated, that some of these people are, we know where they were at bars and at parties, but how in the world do the 2 roommates not have any idea what's going on, Bob?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, of course, we're not saying that the roommates had anything to do with it, but again, keeping everything in mind, that's the first thing that as an investigator you're going to say. There are 2 people there. In a case like this where people are screaming, 4 people, it's going to be a very horrific and dynamic and long-lasting crime scene. How could it be that 2 people did not hear it? Of course, they're looking to see they are intoxicated, they were asleep, where they are in proximity to where it occurred, but that's certainly something that somebody's going to jump right at towards, Trace.
We mentioned one father who said his daughter had bruising. Another father, Jim Chapin, said the following here, quoting, "The silence further compounds our family's agony after our son's murder. For Ethan and his 3 dear friends slain in Moscow, Idaho, and all of our families, I urge officials to speak the truth, share what they know, find the assailant, and protect the greater community." Is it your sense that they're holding something back, that somebody is holding something back in this, Bob?
Yeah, Trace, listen, I did this all the time, and I understand the frustration, but we'd have to explain that what's important is making sure that we do it right by the book and that we don't put stuff out into the public that can taint witnesses down the road, and the defense can later say those witnesses are testifying about what they heard in the media as opposed to what they actually observed. One note that's really interesting to me, Trace, is the knife. The fact that they're not identifying a suspect, but they've identified a kind of knife that was used is very telling to me. That's a very specific piece of information. So that tells me they know more, obviously, than what they're putting out there, which is understandable.
And I got to go, but when you talk about trace evidence, you talk about somebody stabbing others, hair and other pieces, you believe they will retrieve a lot more evidence that could point them in the right direction.
Absolutely, no question about it. There's going to be DNA all over the place and a lot of trace evidence, and they just got to go slow and steady and make sure that they dot I's, cross T's, and see if they can match that trace evidence to actual suspects.
Yeah, great insight. Bob Bianchi, thank you, sir.
You got it, Trace.